Today we're going to talk about solving some application problems where we can write a linear equation to solve. Now I know for most students applications are one of the more challenging parts of math courses, and so I encourage you to be patient. This is something that I promise gets easier the more practice you do. As you're doing practice problems, try to look for patterns. There's some key words that might help you figure out what you're doing. So I have in the notes a list of steps that you can follow when you're solving a word problem. These are the steps I follow. And in fact, as I read a word problem, especially the more complicated ones, I actually always read the problem multiple times. The first time I read the problem, I just focus on what am I solving for? What are the unknowns? Then I assign variables like an x to anything I don't know. And then finally, I read the problem again to get my equation. So let's just dive right into some examples and see how this works. Example 1 says twice the sum of a number and 4 is the same as 3 times the number. Find the number. So this is an unknown number problem. There isn't really a context, but the thing I'm trying to find is some number, which I'm going to call x. Now I'm going to go back and read the words and try to translate them into an equation. The word twice means 2 times. We're taking 2 times a sum, which means I have to add things. And we're taking the sum of a number and 4, so that's going to be x plus 4. Notice I have to have parentheses because the twice applies to the entire sum. That means it applies to both the x and the 4. Is the same as is my equal sign. And 3 times the number would be 3x. So now that I have my equation, I can solve it by getting rid of parentheses. Then I want the x's on one side. I think in this case I'll put the x's on the right. So I subtract 2x from both sides, and I'm left with x equal 8. Now in some cases we'll have to think about whether we need units and does our answer make sense. But this being just an unknown number problem, our answer is a number, so that makes sense in this context. Example 2. The area of the Sahara Desert is 7 times the area of the Gobi Desert. If the sum of their areas is 4 million square miles, find the area of each desert. So I have 2 unknowns in this problem. I want to find the area of the Sahara Desert and the area of the Gobi Desert. So now I'm going to read the problem again and see if I can assign variables to each of these. It says the Sahara is 7 times the Gobi Desert. So if I call the Gobi Desert x, the Sahara would have to be 7 times x. Then I read the problem again to try to get my equation. I'm told that the sum of their areas is 4 million. So if I add 7x and 1x, I should get 4 million. Now I can solve this equation. I combine like terms. I've got 8x equals 4 million. And to finish, I would divide both sides by 8. Let's see, 40 divided by 8 is 5. So it should be 5 with then 5 zeros. So 500,000. Now in this problem, we're supposed to find the area of each desert. And so the x in this case was my Gobi Desert. So the Gobi Desert is 500,000 square miles. The Sahara Desert is 7 times that amount, 7 times x. So if I take 7 times 500,000, that gives me 3,500,000 square miles. So I've answered everything in the question. I have appropriate units written down. And finally, my answers do make logical sense here. If I had gotten a negative number, that would be a clue that perhaps I did something wrong. You can also check if you add these numbers together, you do get 4 million. That's a good thing. And so my final answer is both of those numbers. Example 3, a 46-foot piece of rope is cut into 3 pieces. So the second piece is 3 times as long as the first piece, and the third piece is 2 feet more. And that's a lot of words. I'm not going to focus on all that. The first time I read a problem, I focus on, it's usually the last sentence. What are they asking me to solve for? In this case, they want me to find the length of the pieces. And in this problem, we're told that the rope is cut into 3 pieces. So I have 3 unknowns here. I want to find the length of the first, the second, and the third piece. And so now I'm going to read this problem again, a little bit more slowly. So we've got 46 feet of rope. It says the second piece is 3 times as long as the first piece. So if I call the first piece x, the second piece would have to be 3 times x. The third piece is 2 feet more. That's a plus 2. Then 7 times the first piece. So 7 times x. Finally, to get my equation, I'm going to use the fact that the total length of this rope is 46 feet. So if I add together the 3 pieces, they have to add up to 46. So my equation is going to be x plus 3x plus 7x plus 2 adds up or equals 46. So to solve, I'm going to combine like terms. If I add up all the x's, I get an 11x, and then plus 2 equals 46. I want to get the x's by themselves, so I subtract the 2. 11x is 44. Divide by 11, and x is 4. Now I'm not done with the problem. They actually want the length of all 3 pieces. The first piece was x, and it's feet, so the first piece is 4 feet. The second piece is 3 times x. 3 times 4 is 12, so 12 feet. And the third piece is 7 times x plus 2, so 7 times 4 plus 2. That should be 30 feet. And those 3 numbers would be my final answer. Example 4. The length of a rectangular road sign is 2 feet less than 3 times its width. Find the dimensions if the perimeter is 28 feet. The dimensions of a rectangle refer to its length and its width. So I've got 2 unknowns here. We're told that the length is 2 feet less than 3 times the width. So if I call the width x, the length would have to be 3x minus 2. We've taken 2 away from 3 times that number. Now to get my equation, I'm going to use the fact that they're telling me that the perimeter is 28 feet. Perimeter refers to the distance around the object. And so I could add up all the sides of this object, and that has to equal 28 feet. Now this object has 4 sides, so 2 of those sides have length x, and 2 of those sides have length 3x minus 2. And that is going to equal the 28. In fact, there's a formula for perimeter of a rectangle. If it's easier for you to think about this in terms of a formula, perimeter is always 2L plus 2W, and that's what I've done here to get my equation. To solve, I'm going to get rid of parentheses, so distribute the 2, and then I'm going to combine like terms. That gives me that 8x minus 4. Now I can get the x by itself, so add the 4, 8x is 32, and to finish, if I divide both sides by 8, I get x equal 4. Now they wanted both dimensions, and the x was the width. So the width of my rectangle is 4 feet. To get the length, I'm going to plug x equal 4 into that 3x minus 2. That's 12 minus 2, or 10 feet. So this rectangle has to be 4 feet by 10 feet.